why me
Your voice, your music.
whether me in a skirt or jeans or short shorts, head race when me walk past. Me feel the eyes, believe the eye. Me love the lights, me tweet the pipe.
Baby, pana, it's how you like you all I got you all baby, pana. Anywhere that you go, I can follow you to go, baby. New level.
You're listening to WGHC 98.3 FM.
New level, new level. New level, new level. New level, new level. I them turn Tony in a rebel.
Pam banana pam panam panana pam pam banana pam panam pam 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 banana pam panam panana pam pam banana pam panam pam.
Your voice, your music, your station. WGHC 98.3 FM.
I am Mazi KK Odeluga.
Mazi Ejikebe Obasi.
Na Mazi Oke Okachuku.
This is Straight Talk Radio, the world as we see.
Coming to you from WGHC 98.3 FM. Your voice, your music, your station.
Listen to us this and every Saturday at 4 to 5 p.m. U.S. Central, and this and every Tuesday at 9 to 10 p.m. U.S. Central.
Ndewono.
You're listening to WGHC 98.3 FM.
Why yo, but we are nothing's friend. From see the first time, after trust instant. I'm a why yo, get anything you like. Long as you alright, then me alright. Me know your man, that's why I'm
Your voice, your music.
whether me in a skirt or jeans or short shorts, head race when me walk past. Me feel the eyes, believe the eye. Me love the lights, me tweet the pipe.
Baby, pana, it's how you like you all I got you all baby, pana. Anywhere that you go, I can follow you to go, baby. New level.
You're listening to WGHC 98.3 FM.
New level, new level. New level, new level. New level, new level. I them turn Tony in a rebel.
Pam pam banana pam panam panana pam pam banana pam panam pam 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 banana pam panam panana pam pam banana pam panam pam.
Your voice, your music, your station. WGHC 98.3 FM.
Hello and welcome to another Saturday with WGHC 98.3 FM, your voice, your music, your station, and this is Straight Talk Radio, coming to you from WGHC 98.3 FM. I am Mazi Oke Okachuku, and with me in the studio is
Mazi KK Odeluga.
And on the phone with us is, go ahead and introduce yourself, sir.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Mazi Obasi, introduce yourself.
Yes, Mazi Ejikobasi, I'm here.
Yes.
Okay. Welcome to the program. And this afternoon, we're going to continue our conversation asking questions about Nigeria and the African political system as a whole. But before we do that, we know that this week we lost some icons that we all love and cherish for their contribution to the human society. We lost a great queen of soul, Aretha Franklin, beginning of the week, and yesterday, or was it this morning, we're hearing news that Kofi Annan, the former secretary of the United Nations, that we lost him too. We pray that these icons that are gone, that their soul rest in peace, and we will miss them surely. We started the program playing the first 10 minutes that we played Aretha Franklin, who was not just a big icon for music's sake. She was also part of the civil rights movement, and she's been an icon and a life that served everybody, not just by her music, but even by her presence and her contributions to the greater society as a whole. And she's been, respects are being paid to her from all corners of the world. The President of the United States, the former President of the United States, and many people have shared their condolences. Similarly, for Kofi Annan, we know what his contributions are, especially if you have had to leave your country and live somewhere else. I've heard of the United Nations. He was the former direct secretary of the United Nations, and under him we know a whole lot of things that happened that was brought up to light that he helped the United Nations fight for. So we really thank God that they were able to contribute, that we had them with us, and we surely miss them. And we pray that their families will be able to bear their loss. And Mazi Odeluga or Mazi Obasi, any of you have anything to say about these icons?
Yes, I think it's always important for those of us who are living, when people who have touched many lives, when they pass, to take a breather, stop, not only to commiserate with the families that are directly impacted, to mourn and grieve with them, but also to reflect on their legacy and the life that they live and the contributions. I think that is human. And, unfortunately, sometimes we do not recognize how much lives have been of value and what they are worth to us until we lose them. Now, for most people who know Aretha Franklin, those of us who grew up in Africa hearing her songs, you will celebrate her for her beautiful voice and all the great achievements that she had achieved musically. But most of us didn't know how hard and how difficult it was for her to live in a country where she was born free and as a citizen. And so it is a shame that some of the people who America is known for, because for most, these are cultural ambassadors of America. She was a cultural ambassador for America. That when people hear her voice and hear her the impact that she had in the world, they would not even understand some of the challenges and difficulties that she had to deal with Jim Crow. She was born in the 40s. Her family going through what they went through, her abilities to sleep in motels where she could or could not be allowed to sleep, and the segregation that kept her music for most of the people in America. But she was one of those people that came out of Motown and Detroit. Again, a shout out to Barry Gordon, a visionary at its time, who realized that the African in America can make for themselves a pathway even when nobody else is making a pathway. And so he set up Motown, that became really an engine that churned out some of the greatest music and the greatest icons. I celebrate that. We're still celebrating today. Yeah. I wish I'm surprised nobody has replicated what Barry Gordon has done.
There are a few trying,
yes,
especially in the rap game, but Barry Gordon set the standard, and nobody has been able to hit that.
Wonderful. Standard. Yeah. So Aretha, go and have rest in peace. We'll never forget. We'll continue to show respect and live out some of the legacies and the ideas for which you stood for.
Yeah, well, speaking of the other person that passed, I think Kofi Annan is an example of what Africa can produce when we actually allow our best and brightest to flourish.
Yes.
You look at his tenure in the United Nations. He served with great dignity and kept true to that sense of fairness. He was not afraid to criticize wrong when he felt it was wrong, and yet did it with such soft speak, which is something that is again sorely lacking in today's world. He was the ultimate diplomat. And I think he did Ghana, Africa, and the Black world proud.
Yes.
So it is again, I think his Nobel Peace Prize was well deserved.
Yes, 2000.
And it was a very big loss to the world, actually.
Yes.
Yes.
Interestingly, Kofi Annan was one of the first career civil servants who grew up within the UN system that actually rose up to become the Secretary General. And
Yes.
he was brought up from one of the human resource department, because I think his training is that of an economist, by Boutros Ghali
Right.
as Secretary General, and to head the peacekeeping operations of United Nations. And that was where, like Mazi Obasi said, that the world came to fall in love with him as a diplomat, as a peacemaker. One who, in spite of the difficulties of working within the United Nations, he was able to always try to broker peace and reconciliation. And he wasn't one who was given to, let's go beat them up, let's go kill them.
He walked
No,
softly, but he carried a big
he carried a big stick. Yes. Now, as Secretary General, he worked under great restraint, because I remember that he spoke out clearly and against the Iraq invasion.
Yes.
And was one of the first people, the only people that chose to go to Baghdad and sit down with Saddam Hussein. And he was criticized for shaking hands with him, socializing with him, but he felt that was the African way.
Diplomacy goes first.
That's right. Diplomacy has to give it a chance, and when diplomacy fails, you pursue an action that will bring everybody to the peace.
Yes.
Well, and of course, I think in hindsight, one has to ask, perhaps his way would eventually have been better for Iraq.
Well, in hindsight, right? So 2020, but
Yeah.
we surely will miss him, and we hope and pray that other people will try to live up to the standard that he set. That diplomacy
Yeah.
will go first before we start, talking about bombing things and throwing people out and stuff like that. So we hope that the UN will keep raising up diplomats, and that the rest of the world will try peace first, if nothing else, in the honor of Kofi Annan.
And speaking about Aretha Franklin, I would also like to point out that, in today's world, when we talk about feminism and strong, powerful women, and it has become almost an oxymoron, and everybody, comes out and takes one position or the other. These were the quintessential strong women,
Yes.
because they were in a system that really put them down, and she refused absolutely to be put down. And if you look at her early life, her difficulties, early childhood pregnancies,
Yes.
she overcame all of that and would not bend. She had a vision of where she wanted to be. And, something that people may not realize, that her song, RESPECT, Respect,
Yes.
it was not originally Aretha Franklin.
No.
I think it was
It was
Otis Redding,
Otis
was
Redding.
it?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, but Otis Redding sang it. It was Aretha Franklin that now took it and made it a statement of power,
Yes.
predominantly for women.
Yes. Yes.
So again, these are pillars. When you speak of the American experience, these are the people you have to go back to say, in some way, they defined American culture.
Yes.
Yeah.
They are icons, and we will surely
Icons,
miss them.
yes.
So, now that we've talked about all the people that we lost, I know there are more people probably that we don't know about, some of them famous, or maybe some people that are dear to you. Actually, I lost a good friend of mine. I was called yesterday and told that a very good friend of mine that I grew up with in Nigeria died in an accident going from Abuja back to his home place in the east. It was devastating for me. I couldn't fathom it, so I could imagine how these people feel. I actually don't even know how his people feel, his family, his immediate family. So I know some people are probably mourning also, and we'll keep these people in our prayers, and we'll pray that their souls rest in peace, and that the rest of us who are living will pick up the good things that we learned from them, and if nothing else in their memory, continue to do those things.
Yeah. Since you bring that up, I just want to say that we look at a lot of African countries, and I am now going to go right back to Nigeria.
Yes.
And you look at the mess that has been made of that country. You look at the absolute decay that is happening in that country. And many times we talk about it in abstract terms.
Yes.
Without realizing that these things have a direct cost in human capital.
Yes, it does.
I too lost a very, very close friend in a motor vehicle accident a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
And you look at the circumstances: bad road, poorly trained drivers that should not be on the road. Now, I remember when a truck driver in Illinois had an accident and killed some people.
Yeah.
The investigation eventually led to the incarceration of the
former Governor Ryan, right?
Yes.
Yeah, the
yes.
Secretary
Because
of
he was
State.
then Secretary of State.
Yes.
Now you look at a country like Nigeria where you can buy a driver's license.
No, you don't even need a driver's license. You
just get in a car and drive.
You grease
And
the
the
palm of
cops-
the police guy.
Absolutely. And so we look at these things, we talk about them in abstract terms,
We talk
but
about
this is
infrastructure.
the direct
Yes.
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 So people are dying, and another friend said, it is only when your close family member or close friend dies that it brings it home to you. But I promise you, every single day
Yeah.
in that country, hundreds, if not in the hundreds of people are dying from deaths that are completely preventable in an ordered society.
So I was watching Newsy, one of those news shows that are news programs that I actually don't give me a lot of opinions that I watch, and they were doing a profile on Nigeria, and they reported that Nigeria has today 190 million people. And the first thought, since this is fresh to me, I'm thinking, what would the number be if we had good infrastructure, we didn't have corruption, we didn't have good government, and we're not losing all these souls? We probably will be counting Nigeria in the 200s of millions. And who knows, we probably are killing the people that could have saved that country, or that will be able to save that country, because the amount of lives that are being lost and the young life that is being lost, it's not that these people grew old and died. It would have been easier to bear, but these are people who are doing their regular business, trying to provide for their family and people that depend on them, and all of a sudden, in the middle of nothing, you hear that a normal trip that everybody takes or should be able to take just ended in that kind of loss, and nobody's accountable for anything.
Yeah.
Also in Abuja yesterday, building came down in Abuja. I don't
Absolutely.
know how many people
Absolutely.
died, but I knew this because a lot of my friends started marking themselves safe on Facebook from the building collapse in Abuja. I'm thinking, what's going on? But building collapse in Abuja is not unheard of, because it happens in Abuja, it happens in Lagos, it happens in
Yes.
it happens everywhere.
And has there been any attempt to look at our building codes, to find out what went wrong?
Any attempt to look at the one that's existing, or maybe strengthening, or even build one if it doesn't exist in the community? No, but these people are walking around trying to fire people and water people and road people without really doing the necessary things. They are telling people what they need to hear to get their vote, if that's what they are doing.
I really think that we should devote a whole program to the cost, the human cost of bad governance.
Yes. We should
really look at it in terms of, this is what your government's inability to govern effectively means to you on a personal level.
Yes.
But that's for another day.
Yes, and we will take a short break, a 30-second break, so that we will change the topic and go straight to what we want to talk about today. We will be right back.
I am Mazi KK Odaluga.
Mazi Ejikeme Obasi.
Now, Mazi Okachuku.
This is Straight Talk Radio, the world as we see it.
Coming to you from WGHC 98.3 FM. Your voice, your music, your station.
Listen to us this and every Saturday at 4 to 5 p.m. U.S. Central, and this and every Tuesday at 9 to 10 p.m. U.S. Central.
Ndewono.
Welcome back to Straight Talk Radio on WGHC 98.3 FM, your voice, your music, your station. This is our Africa Saturday, where we discuss everything Africa. And today we're still hanging on in Nigeria. Last week and the weeks previous, we talked about Nigeria a whole lot, asking the question, which way Nigeria, just like Sonny Okosun sang in his music in the 1980s. Now we're digging a little bit deeper, since all three of us are from the southeast of Nigeria, Ndi Igbo. So we're going to the Igbo homeland, and we're asking Igbo people in Nigeria, Ndi Igbo na Nigeria, what's your plan? Where are we going? So we're asking the question to Igbo people, which way Igbo people in Nigeria and outside? What is your plan? What are you planning to do? How do you get yourself organized? How do you build this community? How do you build your homestead, your homeland, your community to be the kind of place you want? Are we going to wait for the government? Are we going to wait for a savior? Are we going to elect a savior? What should we do, and what are we going to do? Mazi Obasi, you want to start?
What are we going to do about
Ndi Igbo? What are Ndi Igbo going to do? What's the plan of Ndi Igbo? What should it be? That's the question we're asking for Ndi Igbo.
Well, I think on our last program, we distilled it into three very actionable steps. Let us first agree that in a developing country,
take a break, boy. Because
we do not have the institutions. Our institutions are not yet very strong. The private sector is still fledgling. Therefore, much of what drives development and growth is the government. And when you talk about government, you talk about elected officials, the president, the Senate, the governors, and the House of Assemblies in the various states. So if you distill it back to Ndi Igbo, for Ndi Igbo, it is the people you elect to office that decide which direction your state is going to go in, both economically and aligning itself politically with others. So, you with that premise in mind, you say, okay, elections are around the corner. Very soon, all these past and present politicians are going to come and start seeking your vote.
Yes.
We said, number one, if it is a sitting elected official, already elected official, the first question is, what is your track record? What is your track record? And if you cannot produce a track record that is progressive, that shows that you have a plan and you're following that plan and doing good for your people, then I think you should not come and ask for the people's mandate. So that's the first thing.
Okay.
Then, if
Go ahead.
it's a new, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I was.
Yes, if it's a new politician, we said, okay, what is your position? What is your position on the burning issues affecting Ndi Igbo? For example, right now, the big thing on the table is that the current political dispensation has completely failed Nigeria in its entirety. And there is a big demand for people to go back to the, 65 constitution?
No,
63, when we became a republic, yes.
Yeah, and go back to region. Okay, anybody who is seeking political office, where do you stand on that? That's number one. Number two, under which platform are you going to conduct elections? Which party are you going to be part of? And number three, who is funding you? Who are you associating yourself with? So that we know we can trust that when you get in there, you will actually deliver on your promises to the people. I think every single Onyibo needs to have that at the back of his mind as you begin to vet anybody talking about politics come 2019.
So I want to reiterate what you said, because you actually are very consistent in that you went back to the questions you outlined last Saturday, which is, what is your vision and plan?
Yes.
What is your party and platform? And who are you aligning yourself with? Those are the three questions that you said last week and you repeated this week. Very good and very consistent. I would love if every Igbo person learns this behavior of consistency. I like that. Mazi Bodeluga.
Yeah, I mean, I think that is what individuals should do. But also, the media should really begin to hold people accountable in terms of the parties and their platforms, and whether they have stayed true to their platform, because every party has a political platform, a manifesto, a set of ideals or what they set out that they will do, and they file those with INEC, and those should actually be their guiding principles. So both in the policy, at the policy level, at the governance level, ideas or things that guide what they do. So hopefully we will have time during the course of this conversation to dissect, at least for those political parties that are big,
yes,
and that are also control the state houses within the southeast.
Yes.
We should really be able to analyze how well they've done and what they could have done they are not doing.
Yes.
You know, because again, Ndoro Ndoro Ọchịchị is an act. And so people have to know how to do these things, you know.
And for me, when we say this, a lot of people are thinking, oh, you're talking about Senate, you're talking about maybe presidential election, even governorship election. No. All politics are local, and there's nothing much more local than your family. So starting from your family, have that discussion with your wife and kids if they are of age to understand what you're saying. But then extend to your umunna. That's the first political settings. That's the first place where you have to start talking about these things and hardening your stance. What I mean by that is not just that you go to your corners and stand there, but at least have your mind be changed or change a few minds within your umunna so that you start to coalesce towards a common ideal, towards a common manifesto of some sort that you say, these are my non-negotiables. These are the things that whoever is going to take care of this locality needs to have. Then you take those seed words, the characteristics, and apply it to your extension of Omunna, which is your village and the locality you live in when you select your local governments. Start from there, because if you get your local government right, if you get your family right, then you get your Omunna right. When you get your Omunna right, you get your clan right. When you get your clan right, you get your community right. When the entire community is right, your entire locality is right, then you could get, I mean, the state becomes right. And when the state is right, nothing can stop you, because then the federal government, where you're represented, and if you have selected good representatives within your locality, they should be fighting for you, being emboldened and encouraged by what's happening in the states that you're part of, in the local government that you're part of, within the umunna that they hail from, within the family that they are from, so that when they all go, as we will all go, we will be talking about them like we just discussed about Kofi Annan and Aretha Franklin. But not only that, it's just because they will help ensure the future that we're trying to secure. Mazio Delga. Well, I will take another break on this front, and we will be right back in a minute and a half.
You're listening to WGHC 98.3 FM.
While you're but we are nothing's friend. From the see the first time, touch us instant. Come on, why you get anything you like? Long as you are right, and me alright. Me know you man, that's why I'm
Your voice, your music.
Whether me in a skirt or jeans or short shorts, head raised when me walk past. Me feel the eyes, believe the eye. Me love the lights, me miss the hype.
Baby, pana, they say you like you all I got you all baby, pana. Anywhere that you go, I can follow you to go, baby. New level.
You're listening to WGHC 98.3 FM.
New level, new level. New level, new level. New level, new level. I them turn Tony in a rebel.
pam panana pam panam panana pam pam panana pam panam pam 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 panana pam panam panana pam pam panana pam panam pam.
Your voice, your music, your station. WGHC 98.3 FM.
I am Mazi KK Odeluga.
Mazi Ejikeme Obasi.
Now, Mazi Oke Okachuku.
This is Straight Talk Radio, the world as we see it.
Coming to you from WGHC 98.3 FM. Your voice, your music, your station.
Listen to us this and every Saturday at 4 to 5 p.m. U.S. Central, and this and every Tuesday at 9 to 10 p.m. U.S. Central.
Ndewono.
Welcome back to WGHC 98.3 FM, your voice, your music, your station. This is Straight Talk Radio, news and events from all around the world from an Igbo perspective. You are back with us on our Africa Friday, where we discuss everything Africa, and we are still talking about Nigeria, and we actually way inside Nigeria in the southeast community of Igbo land. So, Aina Ndi Igbo, Kedo Nozo. In this year and age, where are we going? What's going on? And we have joining us a special guest, and I will let my co-host introduce him.
Yes, we have Mr. Ferguson Asunna. Are you on?
Mr. Ferguson, can you hear us?
Yes. Are you on? Hello?
Hello.
Okay.
Okay. So, Mr. Ferguson Azuna is one of the community leaders here in Chicago, and we just wanted to have a brief conversation with him regarding an event that will be happening next week here in this great city, the windy city of Chicago. We understand that you have a guest all the way from Nigeria, and
Yes,
that guest is a well-known performer. So can you tell us what is this event that is happening in Chicago?
Thank you. First of all, I'm being honored to be on the line with all of you. You guys do a wonderful job. I've been listening and I've been watching. And this event is actually an opportunity for the Igbo community, the Nigerian community in the city of Chicago to to welcome and at the same time honor a great icon from Nigeria named Chief Zebudaya Okerigwe Nwogbo, alias 430 actually, and he is the Pan Powerless. I'm right here in his hotel room, his suite, waiting for you to put us on the air. I can give you time when I finish talking with you to say hello, and then I promise Dr. Delega that we are going to, after the show, probably come to the studio if you want to continue any kind of conversation with him.
Good. So when is the event and where?
The event is this Friday, the 24th, at Levy Center in Evanston.
Okay.
It's 300 North Dodge, actually, in Evanston. And the most important thing about this event is the time period, because that establishment closes on time. They close before 12 o'clock. So it's very, very important that we do it, as we said, 8 o'clock prompt, because if we don't, we might miss some of the things that Chief Zebudaya can do on stage and the interaction that he's going to bring for the night.
So give me the address once again. You said it's 300 North.
The address is 300 North Dodge. It's called Levy Senior Center. Most of the people in our community are very familiar with that place. So, it's very convenient. It has a stage, and the chief himself will be on stage for, and be inside the hall to interact with people to make it a fun night.
So those who are listening to us and wondering what are they talking about, we are talking about Zebi of the New Masquerade, Chief Zebudaya.
No, before the New Masquerade, of the Masquerade.
Of the Masquerade, before the New
Masquerade. Yes.
And the New Masquerade.
Yeah, of the original Masquerade and the New Masquerade.
Yes.
The main man.
Yes. Now, who is Zebudaya? That is his stage name.
What's his real?
That's the stage name. His real name is Chika Opala. He's from Nnobi in Anambra State, but he's a true Nigerian. He's been in town. He's in town right now, and I can tell you the response I'm getting from a few of us Africans who are kind of like lucky to see him. As I'm just witnessing people getting on their knees, saying thank you for the memories, thank you, and this is happening in front of me. Like me and myself and you and the likes of Dr. Delegate too, who've been great fans all those years. I think the reaction I'm seeing from the Yoruba brothers, the Edo brothers, Delta, and all the rest of the people we've met today is overwhelming.
So the show starts from 8 the ceremony, the occasion starts from 8 p.m. to 11 p.m. And so we're asking everybody in our listening audience who want to see an icon of the Nigerian comedy or entertainment industry to come. This was when fun was fun and fun was pure, and families gathered around the television. Communities, actually entire streets, gathered around one tube on the block to get a comic relief. Now,
exactly.
Yes,
it was being watched by millions. I mean, if there was going to be any kind of like anyone you can liken him to, it would be the I Love Lucy show. Exactly.
Or the Cosby show.
Yeah.
That came at an iconic time. So,
exactly,
so is there any tickets or for this event, or is it a free event?
Well, to tell you the truth, I have gotten mixed reviews about the ticket. A lot of people are telling me it's too cheap. A lot of people are saying it's okay. So, but the reason we put that ticket on
the price it is $30 ticket. But it will cost more at the door, so we can have crowd control. I just want to know ahead of time how many people that we are expecting to be there, so we don't overcrowd the place.
So each ticket is how much?
$30.
$30. Okay, and then the fee at the door is what?
It's 50.
It's 50.
This
50 at the door. And so are there places where people can pick up those tickets? Is it online or stores? So can you please quickly let our audience hear that?
Thank you. There are no online tickets. We have some African restaurants, dynamic African restaurant on Granville on Broadway, 727 to be exact. A spread pizza restaurant in Midlothian. We have for people living south, Nubia Tech, Ike Okano's office. We have Hope Club. Hope Club is my Yoruba Brothers Club on 76th Street, actually. We also have individuals like Jasper Former, who is selling tickets, and we have other places that are not written in the flyer. And then they simply can call my phone number.
And what is that number?
773-943-1077, because a lot of people are doing that, and I'm sending them tickets and I'm dropping tickets where they wanted to. We also have P&Q African Cuisine. Queen is the owner of that place. It's on Leyland and Kenmore for my Edo brothers and sisters. So it's all in the flyer, and the flyer is all over actually on Matador, Ogene, and a lot of people like myself, video have been hooking things up on TV. Emmanuel Onoa has been putting things on all the forums actually, both the flyer and the clip that was done by Chief Zebudaya himself. And answer that question, I will when you finish with this interview, if you want to say hi to Chief, that would be wonderful. He's here with me.
Okay, good. So again, it's event is going to be on August 24th at the Levis Senior Center, starting from 8 to 11. Anyone who grew up around the 70s, the 80s, or have the privilege of going to the internet should know the trio, Zebudaya, Grigori, and Clarus.
And Ovularia,
and Jegede, and Ramot. Okay.
Name them there, even Ajiboye,
Yeah.
That's an iconic period. We really appreciate. This is an opportunity for the Nigerian community to come on. We have lost almost all of them actually, but the chief is healthy and bouncing, and this is an opportunity.
Okay, so if Palm One Powerless is on, can we give him a shout out on Straight Talk Radio?
Chief, this is Straight Talk Radio, the one and only one we have, and the best of. I want to say hi to you. Yes, sir. Hold on. Yeah. Hello.
Hi, Chief Zebudaya.
Hello.
Welcome to Straight Talk Radio.
Yeah, thank you. How are you today?
We do very well, thank you.
You are doing it. I am too also. Yes.
Good to hear your voice. We look forward to the program.
Well, I hear that you have blasted the people of Chicago.
Yes, sir.
And with prominent actors and actresses, prominent stars that come out from Africa, prominent stars that are also in America.
And I'm very happy about that. Anybody who projects the artist is my friend. Yes.
So how have you found Chicago so far? Welcome to a great city.
I'm for about 3 and 4 hours now. So I've not gone around to find out who they are. The time my boss was taking me around, I felt asleep because it's been, I know I spent some time in Minnesota.
Yes.
I spent some days in Minnesota, and I had not recovered from jet lag from Nigeria. Did some performance there, and here I am again today. But so far, so good. What I see impressed me. And I say, if African communities, if African leaders that come here and see the great works done by people like them, they should be able to come home and import this type of thing, bring it back home and say, look at their roots, look at their parks, look at the way they position their houses, look at the way they obey the traffic signs, look at it. So where will I start to mention and leave the others? So I'm very, very glad that in this part of the world, there is still law and order.
Yes. Amen. Mazi Obasi. Yeah, so we welcome you to our great city, Chicago. Hopefully we will love you to enjoy your time here. There's a large and growing Igbo community here in Chicago, and a lot of them, some people came 400 years ago, some came 300 years ago, some came 200 years ago, and some arrived like yesterday, like you. And so they will hear yes. And the interesting thing that many do not know, that you became part of a comic relief that was supposed to bring solace and humor and laughter back to the Igbo community at the end of the Civil War. And can you speak to that? Why the masquerade was begun?
Yes, I did. We did not relent. We knew why we formed the masquerade. And although my mentor and the producer of the program initially was James Siroha, the late James Siroha, but he was able to pick able hands that understood the content of the masquerade. And by the grace of God, I thank God that we were able to propel it and we were able to flabbergast. And forward march with what my people would like. You know, when you are go to office and come back, a situation where you are go to office, where you are go to secretariat or your office, and there's no job. You know, when 1970, when the war ended, when you move out with your family, those who could come up with their family to Enugu, you come back, there is no job. I mean, there's no job. How do you eat? You depend on going to feeding houses. There are places we call feeding houses. I happen to work in one of those feeding houses to at least put some food in the place for you. After you have chocolate, then we put another one. You took it, your family, and they chop. There's no plate. What there is leave. We will get big leaf. And these are the things that we use as plates in those days. You don't talk of fork, you don't talk of spoon, you don't talk of knife. So you use hand to cut the food and put for the man, pour the soup inside the or inside the akukunere.
Yes.
Until gradually the people were beginning to exchange civilization with others, with other Nigerians, you know, and other people who came into Nigeria to look at how we're going to survive from that 30 months or so.
Yes.
It wasn't easy.
Yes.
And it was very, very, very necessary that if an entertainment like the New Masquerade was introduced to the people for them to relax and have something to look forward to every week.
Yes. Amen. So thank you so much again. This is Chief Chika Okpara Zebudaya Okorigwe Nwobo, alias 430. He's going to be honored here in Chicago on Friday, August 24, 2018. We're asking every Chicagoan to come out and to be part of the celebration of the life of a great icon, Ndi Igbo, who have earned his place in history as not just an entertainer, a social commentator, an icon, whatever you want to put around his name. He has lived up to that image and spoke to a country at a time that nobody could speak with humor, with satire, and with great firmness and clearness. At the end of which he will say, "Kachineke mezokwa." So thank you, Zebi. If I might use a hilarious word, we will be there. Straight Talk will be there, and then subsequently we'll have the pleasure of if you can join us in the studio to continue this conversation next Saturday when we ask the question, which way Nigeria? Because we want to hear from you. Remember, you spoke at a time that even the dictators that were military governors, military dictators, nobody could ask them question. But you will ask them question through your shows. And at the end, you say, "My people, make you see." Iowa.
No, I think if I may chime in here.
Yes.
This is the promoter now. This is the promoter now, ordinary man, the chief. We'll continue this conversation next time.
Yes.
And I'm free to talk with you some more if you have time. And Ferguson Production Network is inviting Straight Talk. All of you are people that I admire, especially Dr. Delega, who is like a big brother and a mentor. And I think we are going to be having more of this if God is willing for that to happen. Bringing the likes of Chize Bodaya to your show, and if it's not that he just came into town, I would have brought him to the studio, but I think we are still going to do that later on.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you for spending
time
with us.
Yes.
Ndewo. I think we are going to keep on growing and growing and growing in Jesus' name.
Amen.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right, thanks to our listeners, and the place to go to is 300 North Dutch at Evanston. Yes. It's the Levy Senior Center, 8 p.m. prompt on August the 24th, Friday.
August, yeah.
All right.
Be there on time.
Yes.
8.
Exactly.
The band starts playing.
All right.
Tickets $30. At the gate is $50. So get it early before you get there. Children are welcome, right?
Not really, because of
space.
There's gonna be and the lateness of
the lateness. Okay, so it's good to know that you can maybe get a chance to tell your children about Zebi, but maybe you have opportunity to meet him at some other time. Thank you so much, Mr. Ferguson. Ana ordinary man, so jideki. God bless.
I remember ordinary things. And God bless you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. We will take a 30-second break and we'll be right back.
I am Mazi KK Odaluga.
Mazi Ejikeme Obasi.
Na Mazi Oke Okachuku.
This is Straight Talk Radio, the world as we see.
Coming to you from WGHC 98.3 FM. Your voice, your music, your station.
Listen to us this and every Saturday at 4 to 5 p.m. U.S. Central, and this and every Tuesday at 9 to 10 p.m. U.S. Central.
Ndewono.
Welcome back to WGHC 98.3 FM. Your voice, your music, your station. This is Straight Talk Radio, and we are back to talking about our discussion this evening. We're going to discuss amongst the three of us discussing which way Ndi Igbo. And if you want to be part of that conversation, you have the option to go to our Facebook page, and we are broadcasting live. You could comment there. If not, if you want to really call us and hear your voice on the radio and be part of that this conversation live, it's 773-942-7167. Before we were entertained by Chief Zebrudayo Korigongwobo, we were talking about what the people should do, and Mazi Obasi was kind enough to be consistent, going back to the questions of what's your vision, what's your party and the platform, and who are your allies. And we talked about that, and we talked about what people should do in selecting their local, starting from local to the state, and then talking about who's representing them in the federal. What else can Ndi Igbo do? Because I want to take this back eventually to the political parties and the political presence that we have in Nigeria, like you mentioned earlier, where we will look at what their platform says,
yes,
and what they are doing and try to grade them.
Okay, so now somebody who is listening will ask, why the question, which way?
Yes.
Nigeria.
Yes.
Because if anybody who's been watching the news will realize that there are so many things that are being put out both by the public, by the political class, by the elites. It is clear now that Nigeria is at a crossroads. People they don't like the direction that the country is going. And so many questions are being raised. Which way? What are we going to do? So many solutions have been profound. Yes. One of the dominant discussions is about the political arrangement, yes, the constitution that guides what we do, what Nigeria does as a country. And so the question is the 1999 constitution the people's constitution, or is it adequate for what the people to take Nigeria to where she needs to be? And is that generally accepted as what will be the working document? So there's been a lot of questions raised around the constitution. And from listening to some of the socio-cultural organizations that are becoming, you could say maybe grassroots organizations, the Afinefre has rejected that constitution. The South leaders of thought have rejected the constitution. The Southeast have rejected the constitution. The Middle Belt have made statements that they would love to see that constitution restructured. And so the word restructuring of the Nigerian political arrangement by way of revamping the constitution is the word that is on the table. Now, yes, that is not something new. Historically, after the July 29th coup that brought in Yakubu Gowon, in which he made a statement to the whole world that given what has happened in the past years, which means the pogroms of 1966, of May 1966, and of course the coup of January 15, that he does not see any basis for Nigerian unity.
Yes.
The question have been, we need to have a discussion around constitutional reform. So in September of 1966, under Gowon's regime, a constitutional convention was called. So that constitution, they held meetings for I think 2 sittings. Then after the September 29, 1966 pogroms, again the slaughtering and killing of Easterners, especially Ndi Igbo, that was the end of that whole constitutional conference. Until January 1967, at Aburi, when the leaders of all the regions, and of course some of the military, the chief of police, and of course the head of state Gowon, met at Aburi at the instance of Achampong,
yes,
they had a conversation around the need for a constitutional conference, so as for the ethnic peoples, the ethnic groups of Nigeria to come together to do what? To discuss what will be their political arrangement.
Yes.
That has not happened. That didn't happen up until, of course, 1999, when Obasanjo came in, I think it was in 2004 that there was so-called National Dialogue or National Constitution Conference,
Yes.
the report of which never came out. Then again, we had, of course, Oputa was more of Peace and Reconciliation Commission. The report never saw the light of day. Then under Jonathan in 2014, there was also another ostentatious national conference, the report of which has not come out. So the people have always, going back to 1966,
Yes.
there has always been on the table of the country the need for the peoples of the constituent peoples of Nigeria, ethnicities, to come together. Now, this is also on the backdrop of the Wilkins Commission, which was set up by the British government to look at to make sure the concerns of the minorities before independence. So that Wilkins report is also part of a document that is available to Nigerians to review. Because again, the question is which way Nigeria, and Nigeria has not stepped up to the plate.
So we asked which way Nigeria for a few weeks now, almost
Yes.
a month, and now we are going to the locality where we actually hail from,
Yes.
and where we understand. Because so after you discuss as a large organization, you go back to your enclaves and have this conversation, and that's why we're starting from where we know, so that we will actually talk about where we know. So if you're a Nigerian listening to this, apply this to yourself from where you know. You're not necessarily an Igbo person, then apply that to whatever ethnic region you come from. What is the plan for that ethnic region? How is the family that you're part of getting ready to be part of this Nigeria? What is the best leg you're putting forward to make our country better? Because shouting down whoever is in power right now, or whatever administration that is in power, or whatever party that we conceive to be in power, doesn't really do the trick for us. Mazio Obasi, any thoughts? Mazio Obasi, you're still there?
Yes, sir.
So we were asking, what are your thoughts on what we've been discussing about? Mazio Deluga gave the detailed description of what it is that we are going about, and we are asking which way Ndi Igbo. And before we get into the political parties and their manifesto, any thoughts?
Yes. Before we get into the manifesto of the political parties.
Yes.
Which way Ndi Igbo?
Yes, which way Ndi Igbo? Or about the Constitution itself, which is what he just talked about.
Well, yeah, I really think this is time for Ndi Igbo to look inward. I think that what's going on in Nigeria, it is, whether we like it or not, it is going to end up where each ethnic group will have to give representation, assuming Nigeria continues as a country. But regardless of which way Nigeria ends up tomorrow, you cannot run away from our land.
Mm-hmm.
So,
at least for Igbo.
Which way Ndi Igbo? I think this is a time for a civil war in Igbo. It is time to really look inward. Already. I really feel strongly that it is time to purge the political prostitutes from Igbo and find leadership that will give true representation to Ndi Igbo. In a broad sense, that is my which way Ndi Igbo. Like Jimmy, my friend Bob Marley, let's chase those crazy bald heads out of town.
Let's chase them out of town.
Yeah.
And since you mentioned about our channel, the artist, I can't remember if it was Ika Mouse or whomever, who was asking blacks in England back in those days, what's your plan? So the same thing is Ndi Igbo na Nigeria. What's your plan?
Yes.
I mean, we know there are several things that have been on the table.
Yes.
there's the Oka Declaration by the Ohaneze.
You're too early. Actually, I would like to go all the way back to Ahiara.
Yes.
There was Ahiara Declaration, which I still marvel at when I read it.
Yes.
That should, if nothing else, serve as a background, as a backbone to any manifesto any government in the east part of Nigeria is putting together.
Yeah, I mean, unashamedly, people should adapt that as a Magna Carta.
Yes.
But there's the Ohaneze position of Ndi Igbo being in Nigeria that is reformed or restructured.
Yes.
Then there is the ADF position, which is if the reform is not happening, let's leave town.
Let no vote.
And there is the IPOP position. To your tents, all
my people go.
Let my people go.
Yes.
So IPOP position is let my people go.
Yes.
Then there is the LNC, which is the Lower Niger Congress, which is not too far from the IPOP position. Their position is there is indeed no Nigeria if you're still thinking of 1999 constitution. So it's illegal to exist, continue to exist, because it is not a true constitution, it's a fraud.
Well, because so many people hold that notion that 1999 constitution is a fraud because it starts with we the people and it was put together by a bunch of unelected people who didn't ask anybody.
Yes.
Why are we not, or why are the people who are holding this position not in the courts trying to get redress? Why are they not trying to get an interpretation that makes sense in the courts?
I think LNC succeeded at some point in getting a court to declare it unconstitutional.
Which court and why?
It was, I don't know how far that legal action, but they were in court for years. That was actually the beginning of the emergence of that whole strategy.
Yes.
Now, but the thing that I find confusing is that you have the civil society organizations, and that's what I call them.
Yes.
IPOB, LNC, ADF, Ohaneze. They are all civil society organizations.
Yes.
Moving in a direction of saying there should be no elections under this present constitution.
Yes.
They want a brand constitution written that will be subjected to a referendum.
I'm wondering, do they want a brand new constitution? Are they saying suspend this and use what existed before it?
No, they can speak for themselves, but the idea is if we create a transition period where this present administration continues for a few more years, a year or two, for there to be a new constitution written by the people, and then the people can vote on the referendum, in a referendum, and approve that constitution, then it will be used for the subsequent election. That is their position.
Okay.
Now, what I see that I find confusing, that the people who have the reign of power, I mean the elected officials in the political parties, are not speaking to those issues and are not championing those ideas. So INEC has come out to say we cannot adjust the calendar for the election.
It is not their job to.
And so the National Assembly has not issued,
any of this.
has not asked INEC to change the calendar.
The people who make the law, who could actually make things happen,
that's right,
have not addressed this.
They have not addressed it. That's one.
Yes.
Regarding the election specifically.
Yes.
Now, the other thing that is confusing is that none of the politicians, those political parties from the governors in our state houses, or those that were elected to the National Assembly in Abuja, or any of the people that have been elected to the state houses, none of those state house of assemblies have moved a motion to say that their people will not participate in the election if so and so does not happen, or that they've not even put
a motion to stop the election, move the election, do
move
something,
or
talk
even,
about this,
or take a position on the restructuring.
Do what they usually do, have another panel.
Yes, or take on the position of Ohaneze and say, okay, we support what Ohaneze, that we as the people, elected officials, that we stand with these civil society organizations, or to say, oh, the governor's coming out and making a firm statement about their position. Yes. So that is the dichotomy that I see that is troubling, that creates a confusion and cacophony within the system.
Well,
so I mean,
I see it as a two-edged sword, right? You could come out and say, this is my position, and depending on what that position is, people may be saying, well, you're saying suspend this and wait till another election, only because when it's suspended, you stay longer, right? Or if you're on the other side and you come out and say, well, we have a constitution, we have to use it until a new one shows up, we will. Then people will say, well, it's because you have rigged the machine to continue to give you what. So I could see why somebody may think that. But why I'm making this excuse is so that we take it off the table. Regardless of what the edge of the sword is or how many there are, people should make at least should declare their position on issues that affect their community, especially if your community is making a whole lot of noise and young people are laying their life down to make this position known.
Yes.
Mazio Basi, any thoughts?
So, yes, so along those lines, I am sure that these, all of the elected officials in Ndi Igbo, most of them are going to have competition. Mm-hmm. I don't know how many of them that will be elected unopposed. Among those who are planning to run, how many have actually come out to clearly state their position and what they're going to do different from the incumbent?
Yes.
Yes. I would like us and for everybody, especially leaders that are listening to this program. Many of you are on social media. Some of them are so quote unquote, I don't know what to call them.
Internet champions.
Well, yes, they're all chat groups, but some of these are actually supposed to be think tanks.
Yes.
And I don't know if you have ever participated at for some duration of time. You find out that you have a lot of people who log in,
yes,
and basically talk to themselves.
Yes.
There is no clear-cut direction. There is no clear-cut agenda. So something happens in Lagos. Ndi Igbo must do this. Ndi Igbo must do that. Ndi Igbo must do this. Python dance happens. This is an affront. This is a this. This is a that. In the middle of all these discussions, people are going there campaigning for election.
Yes.
Putting up their posters. People are campaigning for other people who will become president, whether it is Buhari, Atiku, Kwakwanso, and all these other people, right in the middle of an Igbo think tank. So the question really is, who is deceiving who?
Yep.
Who is deceiving who?
Onyaga will kabalo na my dad.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll dive into the constitution of some of the political parties that we hear, because a lot of times what ends up happening is we hear about APC, PDP, APGA, APGA, or UPN, or so I'll read one of them only because actually when I read this one I was struck because it sounded like something else, but I want to start with the the manifesto of one of the parties. I wouldn't say which one, and I'll like a guess from you two after I read the first two paragraphs. When this democratic dispensation commenced in 1999, the federal government that emerged did not tell Nigerians what its vision was for the country because the party that formed the government had none. And without a vision, that party at the center had led Nigeria from one crisis to another, lurching deeper into political anarchy, economic decline, and social disillusionment. A decade and a half later, nothing has changed. That ruling party has neither concrete plans for the security and advancement of Nigerians nor the wherewithal to do so, even if he had one. Suffice to say that he had thrived on the maxim, promise nothing and do nothing. The consequence of trusting power to a party that does not have the genuine interest of Nigeria and Nigerians are clearly manifest in our political and economic predicament today. Tens of thousands of innocent Nigerians have been killed due to government neglect of security, poverty, and unemployment has multiplied due to the perverse economic policies. Corruption has been taken to a new level, while health, education, and job opportunities are all in free fall. The question on the lips of most Nigerians is there a federal government in Nigeria? Now, why I wanted to read the first paragraph is, well, I'll finish the last two sentences. A government that thrives on chaos, corruption, impunity, injustice, and the systematic exploitation of ethnic, religious sentiments, and other primal instincts to divide and rule Nigeria. It is no wonder that at no time since the period of the Civil War have ethnic and regional sentiments been as raw as they currently are. Nigeria can and must do better. So if I'm reading this and I'm thinking, what party could this be, and what Nigeria are they talking about? Are they talking about Nigeria from a few years ago, a few decades ago, or today? Mazi Obasi, could you venture to guess who this political party is?
Because I suspect this is something that is going to be very surprising. I am going to say this is APC.
It is APC. APC government started
well,
with
there
this,
you go.
They started with this paragraph.
Uh-huh.
But if I look at the rest of their manifesto, they have it divided into contents.
Yes.
And the first one is relief. In the relief, they said what they are looking for is a decent life for every Nigerian, and they listed the first one to be jobs, 3 million new jobs per year.
Uh-huh.
Now, I will not say they didn't do this or that they did this. What I'm saying is, how do we measure whether they did or did not?
People, you don't need to ask Nigerians, those who live under APC leadership, how are they faring?
How is it
so
working out?
The question that you ask is the famous question that Ronald Reagan asked.
Yes.
Are you better today than you were 4 years ago? And then
you trust and verify.
That's all. You leave it like Ndi Igbo na asị na ịtụpụrụ nkịta ọkpụ rapụzie ya anya na ọgụ ndị mmụọ. So that is the question for Nigerians.
Yes.
But the interesting thing is, on paper,
yes,
they
define the problem. As an engineer, when you define the problem, the solution is not too far.
That's right. So they had a way of saying what they would do.
Yes.
And it's interesting because everything they said the other people didn't do is worse.
Well, so under relief, it's jobs, 3 million a year. Healthcare for all. I don't know if they are talking to Bernie Sanders.
Yes.
Guaranteed free education.
Yes.
Urban renewal and housing.
Yes.
Tackling poverty, a safety net for every citizen.
Yes.
Another social thing. Keep Nigeria safe.
That's right.
Keeping Nigeria safe. Sports and culture, a vibrant Nigeria.
Yes.
Then the recovery part, building a 21st century economy. Building modern infrastructure. We just talked about accidents that took loved ones. Creating a value-added economy, restoring good government, and ending our reliance on oil and gas, agriculture and land, a green revolution.
That's right.
And then here comes that word again, reform. A government you can trust, guaranteeing human rights and justice, foreign affairs and trade, a strong Nigeria and growing Africa, a fair deal for women, protecting Nigeria's economy.
Yes.
And
protecting Nigeria's environment. So let's just go down to, I see where you, federalism.
Yes.
Which is the topic that has dominated the Nigerian political discourse in the last 2 to 3 years.
Yes.
Under federalism, they say create a more equitable distribution of national revenue to the states and local government, because this is where grassroots democracy, economic development must be established. Now, in terms of restructuring,
that was not there.
That was not there.
So, but at least they addressed so they put forward their manifesto of what it is they are going after.
Yes.
It is not a restructuring. What they are looking for is a way to share the wealth more equitably.
Yes.
And some people may hold that position, and that's fine. But the question is, how have they done?
That's right.
So the question, the other question, of course, of which I am also guilty,
So this is the constitution, the platform.
This is the platform written
of
on paper.
the party in
Yes.
Nigeria.
That they do not publish anywhere. That they do not talk about when they are
Well,
politicking.
You know what?
Yes.
Mazi, okay.
Yes.
You were able to obtain this and read it. So it is available to the public.
It is available, but the politicians don't say anything closely related.
No, this is part of what the should be.
The politicians.
Yes.
What about the press?
Yes.
What about the press?
Yes.
This is what a vibrant press should be doing.
Yes.
You bring this out, call a politician, call the party leader, call the Senate, call the president. This is your manifesto. Can we go through this manifesto line by line? Have you achieved number one?
Yes.
Number two, number three, number four. We do not hold anybody accountable.
Yes.
So instead, we and that is the tragedy. That is the tragedy. There are ways of holding people truly accountable. I think if you call chairman of APC,
Oshimole,
put him on trial. This is your manifesto.
Yes.
How many years you have governed Nigeria? Let us talk about security.
Yes.
What have you been able to achieve? Look at what Fulani herdsmen are running rampant all over the middle belt and southern part of Nigeria. What have you been able to do?
Yes.
Let us take economy. Jobs.
Where are the jobs?
Net job losses
Yes.
since your government took over power. The private sector has contracted sharply because of your monetary policy.
So if anybody APC shows up to your neighborhood talking about what they are going to do or not do, the first thing you should do is ask them what they have done so far and how they plan to do things differently that could be verified, that makes this realizable, or if they have changed the platform to tell you what the new platform is.
And the question is not APC at Abuja.
No.
But
local.
APC at your state.
At
So
the
for
local government.
at the local government. So for APC, you're talking about Enugu State, right?
Yes.
Yes.
You're talking about
It's in
Abia,
too, yes.
Abia State.
Yes.
Okay. So the people.
Not Abia, Imo State with
No, Imo State. Yes, we wrote.
Berberism.
Yes. So it is APC government.
Yes.
So they have a 42-page manifesto
Yes.
that you can actually use to judge everything they said they will do.
Yes.
Now if you look in their manifesto, there's no place for Fulani herdsmen to have cattle grazing,
no ranching. There's nothing.
So
The things that they're talking about today in the national conversation is not seen anywhere
Yes.
in their manifesto.
protecting freedom of speech. You ask whether the people introduce and strengthen legislation which protect and guarantee the right to free speech across Nigeria. Okay, now free speech.
But a journalist was just arrested, and journalists are protesting in Abuja. So
Yes.
Sally Boy was there.
Yes.
yeah, and Kano was tried for treason for speaking out.
That's right. He's a journalist. He was a radio journalist.
Yes, yes.
It doesn't matter which radio station he was using,
Free
but
speech
he is a journalist
Yes.
and a social commentator.
Yes.
Just like Straight Talk.
Just like Straight Talk.
So this is part of their idea that we should guarantee freedom of the press. So on what basis did you arrest him? Because he was calling for the overthrow of your government, not necessarily bearing arms against the leadership of the government. So that is the interesting thing that I find going through these manifestos, because sometimes you think, okay, maybe these people didn't even have a platform, because when they come to your neighborhood, all they are talking about is how many bags of rice and how many yards of abada that they will be distributing to the women. And and how many bags of rice or tomato that they want to give to the people. That is not the conversation you should be having with anybody who wants to serve you and manage the resources that belongs to you and the entire community. What you should be asking them is specifically what they will be doing for you. And then going through their manifesto.
You should have the manifesto in your hand.
That's right.
You should know what they stand for and ask them specific questions that actually mean something to your life according to their manifesto, and have them say where they stand. It doesn't necessarily mean that every politician that is in that party holds the same platform. But if they hold different, you want to learn about it even before you put your vote anywhere.
Yeah. So now, under land reform,
yes,
this is what they say: introduce major land reforms, empower farmers and others to unlock the enormous wealth in land through marketable title deeds, through a new system of freehold and leasehold leases, ending the requirement to seek the government's permission to use your land to raise credit. Provide incentives, including matching grants, to encourage states to achieve this national objective. Amend the Constitution and Land Use Act to create freehold and leasehold interests in land, along with establishing a system of matching grants for states to create a nationwide electronic land title registry on a state-by-state basis. Now, this is important. This conversation, this reform that they are seeking. No, because what people did not realize is that there are two principles, the two different principles that are operating within Nigeria.
Yes.
Now, to the Fulani and the Hausa, under the Islamic law, land belongs to Allah.
Give it and take it away.
Do you understand?
Yes.
So Allah owns all the land.
Yes.
But to the Igbo, for example,
it's an inheritance.
It is a birthright inheritance, and is where you are. This is your birthright given to you, and it goes from one generation to the other. So when they passed the land use decree in the 70s, where the government took over all the land in Nigeria, it was according to Islamic law, not according to the freehold and leasehold that was operating within Igbo land.
Yes.
So restoring that is actually a good thing. But then, did you hear that conversation all through the 4 years that they were in power?
The only conversation was about ranching and the government using that power that they have to own every land to decide where the ranches will go.
That's right.
For private businesses on your land, because they want to give away your land to Fulani headsmen or die. That was the option.
That's right, which goes against their plank, their manifesto, where they are supposed to be writing bills and pushing for land reform so that the people will get back to where you have a freehold of the land and you can use it to acquire credit. We can use your title to receive credit, because now the government can literally come to you and say, this land, we need it for public interest, and that's it.
That's it. You have no recourse.
And that's why
they give you what they think is the fair.
Even if they give you anything.
Mazi Obasi, anything before we go to PDP, because I don't want APC to just take up the entire time.
No, I agree completely with what Mazi Delega is saying. It's a bit funny that this is a written manifesto.
Yes.
And then you look at the actions of the same government.
Yes.
It is the manifesto of the ruling government, and it seems that they are going directly against their manifesto, and yet nobody has publicly called them to order based on their written manifesto.
Yes, so PDP and APCA also have written manifestos. So I'll read that of PDP.
And by the way, for those who are listening to us, if you want to find all the manifestos and constitution of all the political parties, you can go to inec.gov. This is the INEC website. You can find all the registered political party have their manifestos and their constitution on that website.
Thank you, Mazio Odeluga. So PDP starts off by saying, manifestos of the People's Democratic Party. We of the People's Democratic Party of Nigeria, conscious of our historic mission to build a modern democratic state founded on justice, equity, and fair play, realizing the need to make a fundamental break with the past mistakes in order to realize the optimum potentials of the country, build a qualitatively better society based on principles of democracy, human rights, and social justice under the rule of law, committed to restructuring Nigeria. There is another word again, restructuring Nigeria in the spirit of true federal and responsible tiers of government so as to achieve a just and equitable society, resolving such fundamental issues as proper devolution of powers between the 3 tiers of government, covenant as follows. 1. The indivisibility of the Nigerian polity. I will leave that one alone for now. Number 2, supremacy of the Constitution. And some people will be asking, what Constitution? That's my commentary. Number 3, independence of the judiciary and operations of the rule of law. Number 4, sanctity of human dignity. And then they have directive principles that say how they are going to do these things.
Yes.
So, Mazi Odeluga, any of them jumped out at you? A lot of them jumped out at me.
That's right. I mean, they say they are committed to restructuring Nigeria.
Yes.
Okay. So PDP is in power in Ebonyi State.
Before Ebonyi State, they had 16 years.
Okay. I'm just saying nationally.
Yes.
Okay. So now they're trying to maybe come back.
Yes.
But in Ndi Igbo, the PDP leader is in charge in one of, I think it's in
I think Ebonyi may have PDP.
Yes, it's Ebonyi, because you have APC in Imo and Enugu.
Yes.
And then Abia.
Is Enugu APC?
I'm not sure what Enugu is.
Enugu is APC.
Enugu is APC. Okay.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, people who know better could tell us on Facebook or on call us and let us know.
Yes,
we could verify this before.
But I know the Apuga is in Anambra.
Anambra is
and then Imo State.
Is Imo Apga?
No, sorry. Imo is APC. It used to be Apuga.
Imo used to be Apga,
but then it switched in the last election.
His carpet. Yes.
Yes. So APC. Now, so going back to PDP. So the PDP wants to federalism, right?
Yes.
So why are we not having that conversation among the PDP elected officials?
It seems like it's a forgotten.
So why are they not leading? Why are they not leading the campaign?
Why are the members of the PDP in the southeast leading the conversation in their communities first?
And also the conversation at the National Assembly.
Yes.
So they should have been taking a cue from the advisement or the position of Ohaneze, ADF, IPOB,
yes,
LNC. So all these civil society organizations that are kind of like feel, mobilizing or have the ear to the ground, they should have taken cues from them to know what to begin to do at the center. But we don't see any of them, even those of them in opposition.
Well, so there are some places where they diverge, right? LNC, for example, will say, right, we agree with you that we should have a reformed government that has divulged responsibilities, like they put it, to the 3 tiers of government.
Mm-hmm.
So we are with you on a restructuring. But then on number 2 of their things, they said, well, there's the supremacy of the Constitution. Mm-hmm. They say we affirm our belief in the supremacy of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria and the sovereignty of the Nigerian nation and its people. Now, LNC will say, what constitution are you talking about? Because you can be restructuring if your constitution is supreme and all right. So there are some places where they diverge, but they actually have a place where they agree. There's a base of agreement, and then they could start telling us where the differences are.
Yeah, but you see, whichever way you look at it, once you have a constitution, everybody should believe in the supremacy of the constitution. So as a concept,
once, yes,
as a concept,
yes,
they have we believe in the constitution. That's what we're going to follow.
As a concept. Yes,
so
not
now,
a specific.
So now, if you talk about restructuring, which they use in the next language,
yes,
it means that they want it to
they want to reform and change it so that the constitution
will reflect the true
federalism. Will of the people.
Yes. Federalism, yes.
Yes. In which case, they have to lead that conversation. Because, and that is the thing that bothers me, because what I find absurd is that the political arm and the social activist arm
are very
are so divergent.
Yep.
You know, and then the people,
even when they have the same,
yes, the civil society organizations feel that they can really get these things going.
Yes.
Oh, we need restructuring. Oh, we need restructuring. Fine, you can say what you need, but I don't see any action
yes.
on the political side.
Yes.
And now you can't affect any change unless you are on the political side.
Yes.
So that has always been my position, to say to the civil society, if you feel really strong about that,
yes,
you got to find parties that you need to partner with that will embody your position.
You have to get into a party or form a party.
Or you form your own political party.
Yes.
Now that everybody is allowed to form any you can actually form a political party to run for ward election, to run for local government election, that's right, to run for local government election, to run for House of Assembly, or even to do state. You don't need to be federal and have all offices in all 50 all 36 states. You could do your.
You could actually only start in a local government and transform that first.
That's right.
And then use that as an example of what you could do and get you more.
So that goes back to the question, which way Ndi Igbo? Because onye gbala aka na-azọ ani. Onye gbala aka na-azọ ani. What I see is indeed a lot of people just na abakasi ani. Nothing is moving in any direction that I see that could effectively change the current situation. The ruling party APC is dug in. There's no bill in the House to talk about reform. There is nobody has released the previous conversations that I've had, the national dialogue, the national conference,
we don't know what
the Opita report. Yes. None of those things are out as a public document, official public document that the people will review and peruse. So again, the man at the center is not a Democrat that is looking for reform, much as that is what everybody, his political party is saying. So the PDP, that is a party in opposition, has on his plank restructuring. Why are they not leading this conversation? Why do you have to rely on a few chiefs and a few elites from most of these ethnic groups, Afinefere or the Middle Belt leaders of thought, or the South or JP Plaque, and all these guys to be talking about reform?
But even when those people are leading that conversation, you don't hear any of these people jumping up and say, oh yeah, that's exactly my constitution, or this is where I divulge with them. This is where the differences are. They don't have any of that level of conversation. The level of conversation they're having is who paid who and how much do I pay them so that they turn and vote for me.
Yes.
How can I buy the votes? And that's a shame that people are listening to that kind of conversation instead of thinking about what are these people standing for, or what do they say that they want to stand for. Mazi Obasi, any thoughts before we go to APGA? Do we still have you, Mazi Obasi?
I'm here.
Okay.
I'm just thinking. I'm thinking because
yes.
Because for me, APGA now becomes which APGA?
Right.
This is the APGA is in for a while it looked like APGA would be a strong Igbo-centric political party.
Well, the Anambra convinced us that APGA did very well, and we tried to extend them in Imo State.
And where are we now?
Yes.
I'm not even sure that APGA in Anambra is still strong.
Well,
strong,
like Mazio Delega said, how is it working out for the Anambra now? Are they living better than they lived before? So I'll read APGA with their introduction, which is very lengthy, and I mean they went into what I will not read all of this. I will read a few of the paragraphs of their introduction, and then I'll go to the meat of the Constitution that starts in chapter 4 on page 4. If you're following us on the radio and you've downloaded it, on page 1, 50 years ago, we were immensely proud of our country. Our leaders in those early years were men of true distinction, freely able, like their great contemporaries Kenyatta, Luthili Nehru, Sukarno, to do battles against foreign rule. Nigeria was united, focused, and vigilant. The economy was in good shape with its hard currency earning from cocoa, groundnut, palm oil, and tin. In the educational upsurge of the 1940s and 1950s, there were already the beginning of an all-round social transfiguration. But now, Nigeria today is a failed state. The democratic experiment, which started with independence in 1960, was cut short soon afterwards by a revolt of dissatisfied soldiers. And in more than 30 years of successive military seizures of the state, we lost our way. The civilian search for shared public purpose was succeeded by a culture of vulgar assertion, institutional violence, and the collapse of communal values. The healing democratic dialogue between zones, states, and different ethnic groups ceased while tensions and hostilities mounted. A crisis of unfulfilled expectation was compounded by a crisis of rising underdevelopment. The economic infrastructure broke down gradually. Unemployment entered every household, even among the skilled and well-qualified. The cities became slums of deprivation and crime. Robbers, beggars, and lunatics crowded the streets. And today, young Nigerians have nothing better to dream of than to check out, to become night guards, street cleaners, drug mules, and prostitutes in Italy and the United States. It is generally agreed that the failure of the Nigerian state is primarily the result of failure of leadership. The Belawa government of the First Republic gave up the objective of creating a national consensus after a couple of years. In doing so, it provoked the regional conflicts, which led to the Western crisis of 1965 and the Civil War. The military government of the Yakubu Gowon had enough resources after the OPEC revolution to modernize Nigerian economy, but it lacked both the vision and the savoir-faire to do so. Under successful military rules, the Nigerian state failed to find a unity purpose in which the supreme military command, the states, private businesses, financial institutions, the professions, local communities could work together on a agreed blueprint of national development. I am going to skip the longer introduction and go to their fundamental principles on page 4 if you're following us. So the All Progressive Grand Alliance, which is APGA, is committed to the following fundamental principles, whether it is in government or not in government. This is something they are proposing they will do, whether they are standing by or whether they are part of the governing administration. So it says, 1. National unity. It will protect the national unity, territory integrity, and sovereign independence of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
Yes.
2. Democratic order. It will uphold the will of the people of the Federal Republic as the only source of political power and hold the Constitution of the Federal Republic in honor as the supreme law of the land. It will also enforce the limits prescribed by the law on executive and legislative power, promote the fundamental freedoms of all Nigeria, and insist on openness and transparency in all organs of government. 3. Here comes that word again. True federalism. It will uphold the principle of true federalism as the constitutional framework in which a plural and diverse nation like Nigeria can keep its unity while promoting the different interests of its different people. 4. Another one, political pluralism. It will actively promote the diversity and pluralism of nations as sources of strength.
Yes. Every state, ethnic group, religion, culture, class, profession, and interest group must be empowered to reach its highest potential. In this regard, APGA believes that a Nigerian is a good citizen if he is a devoted member of his community, ethnic group, or state. Then they define what is a new role for the government, and then they define the role of the party, and then the commitment to the black world, which I will go ahead and read. It will employ every means, diplomatic, political, economic, social, and cultural, to advance the image of the Federal Republic of Nigeria as the spiritual home of the black peoples of the world. And all in straight talk say amen. And then they talked about education,
the problems with the teachers and students, basic misconception, the new sources of funding, the federal responsibility, the tertiary education, the duties of the state, the training and motivation of teachers, secondary school programs, local government councils, the reform of the civil service, the challenge of independence, the professionalism, protection from interference, a code of conduct. I mean, this is very, very, they talked about economy on page 14 and agriculture on page 6, which you would think is part of the economy, but in all, they ended up with 41 pages of constitution that seem to go
manifesto
of manifesto that seem to go into many details in many places. One of the things that struck me is it seemed like ABGA had a grasp, or at least was trying to hinge a whole lot of things on the history, because they retold the Nigerian history story in many places.
Yes.
Trying to say this is where we were, and for that reason this is where we're trying to say.
That's right.
Now I am skipping a whole lot of this because I don't want ABGA, just like I said about APC, I don't want ABGA to get all these free commercials and people think that because I'm from Anambra State and I must state that I am all ABGA. Nope, I do not have any dog in this fight as far as I'm discussing these political parties currently, because I live in the US, I cannot vote in Nigeria, and my public opinion is you read the manifestos.
That's right.
And figure out which one best suits you, and then follow up with the representatives of the party who come campaigning and politicking before you make your decision where you're going to go.
So, to that point,
yes,
I will say to the youth,
yes,
in Ndi Igbo,
yes,
the future is yours. The future direction of Ndi Igbo is in your hands.
Yes.
So instead of the exuberance of I Jacob Biafra,
oh yes,
study what you already have.
Use the tools available to you.
This is your perfect moment. Somebody should be an expert. There are 91 political parties registered in Nigeria.
Even that makes me laugh.
No.
Yeah, I understand.
That's a democracy.
Yes.
Now, but in Anambra, you're dealing with ABGA. In Imo State, you're dealing with APC.
In Enugu,
PDP.
PDP.
So PDP all the way.
Yes.
Now, because that was the way it was reflected. All the senior National Assembly, Senate, and representatives were mainly
these three
PDP.
Yes.
So the people who represent us, the Ndi Igbo, at the National Assembly are all
parties.
PDP.
Well,
and then some APGA.
There are some APGA, yes.
And then some APGA, and
some
maybe
APC.
one or two APC. But
APC,
study the Constitution, their manifestos,
yes,
and then get schooled in it.
Yes.
So that you will be the one who will stand up with some kind of knowledge to challenge their performance, and also to educate the rest of the community which direction they need to go,
and to hold them accountable.
That's the point.
If they say this is what we're going to do and they're not doing it, do not let them off. Do not wait till tomorrow, because tomorrow is too expensive. You have today. Ask them, what are you doing today based on this?
And consider joining a political party.
Join, form, organize, whatever you have to.
That's right.
Joining a political party and sitting on the floor and being card carrying,
yes,
but not doing and not being participatory,
active, yes,
it doesn't do you any good.
Yes.
If you get into a political party, find the people that you trust that are going to hold the mantle the way you like it and put them in power. If you don't find them,
run yourself.
I nominate you.
That's right.
If you look around and you don't find anybody who could do that thing that you know should be done, that means it's you.
Yeah. Why that is important is that every liberation movement that have come of age, yes, in our time, yes, had two wings, yes, a political wing and an activist wing.
Yes.
The activist wings are doing the activism on the streets, the protests and the marches. That's right.
That one.
But the political wing is looking at
philosopher,
leadership.
Thought leader, yes.
These are people who are going to govern.
Yes.
Because you cannot be crying for something that you're not able to. When it is given to you, you're not prepared.
You have no idea. What
so
to do with
it showed that whole thing was so glaring at peak of Nnamdi Kalu's power
Yes.
was when Anambra conducted an election.
Yes.
And I was expecting him to actually have
A
a candidate in the run.
To say this is our
So
man.
this is the
You
man
must vote.
that everybody should vote for and see if that person carries the vote. So then if IPOB elects you and holds you accountable, then you actually work the magic of
The only
Biafra.
way to take care of your community is
That's
put
right.
those people in power and hold them accountable.
So that opportunity was lost because again he played the card that many people are trying to play for the February election
Also,
by saying don't vote. Oh, that Anambra State
it
election
becomes
will
a
not.
power thing. We start doing
will not
power
hold.
struggle. Because I said this, it happened. You are not Elijah. You are not prophesying. You are not making it rain or not rain. If you say that it happens, fine. But think about not just today and your power. It's not about you. It's what about the future? Are you able to use today to secure the future for you and your descendants? Because Ndi Igbo, I mean, our eternal life in Igbo land is we live and we join our ancestors, but your name continues. Isaiah Fakego.
Yes.
And the way it continues is we have that
Obiechina.
Obiechina, going from our father to, you know your son is coming after you, and you know his son is coming after him. So you make it better for you and for your son and your grandson, and if there's a great grand, you make it better for them.
Yes.
So that when you join your ancestors, you're looking down on them and smiling while they do the same thing and even better.
That's right. They do it better. Yeah.
Mazi Obasi, we have 2 minutes. You get the 2 minutes.
I think we lost him. Yeah. So
okay, so you get the 2 minutes, Mazi. Mazi Odeluga there.
yeah. So again, the conversation today is around which way Ndi Igbo. As atwala omalo omalo.
Yes.
Atwala ofeke. Asikwo anụ gbaa aja ọsọ si gbaa ya aja egbe.
Yes.
Na eneke ntị ọba si na ebe ọ bụ na dinta mụtazi atụ atụ wee gbaa na ya ga-emezi na ya na-efe efe na ya ga-emezi ebe ebe. So ụwa na-enwe ntụgharị. Ịtụlụ ji etolo mkpọrọgwụ. Ịtụlụ ji etolo mkpọrọgwụ. Makwụkwọ na ife dị ọkụ ga-emesịa jụọ oyi na ife dị ọkụ. That's right. So what's happening bụ ka a na-ekwu okwu ma a ga-eme election ma ama eme election. Onye ọbụla jidekwa gịnị PVC ya na-akpa na-akpa nkata a na-ekwu isoro na-atụ alo ndị ga-achị maka na ọ bụ na emerapụrụ nke anyị chọrọ ka anyị baa na ka anyị mee nke ọzọ.
Ọ ga-awa ọgwụ na afro ka
eme ka afro nọ maka na afro ebe ebidola aka ka eji bido n'ikpere. So the point being, you must not always have your way. It's not an all or none, because it's when we start going into
contingency is a very great thing.
No nkwụcha abụrụ ụjọ.
No.
Na mmadụ ke nkwụcha abụrụ ụjọ. So na nwaanyị a na-akpa nkata na-asị kedu ka a esi n'idie si biko ndị na-atụkwa elu etu esi n'idie fatụkwa elu etu a ga-esi kuchie onye ga-ekuchie. So ife o ji tụọ elu afọ bụ have a comprehensive approach to this any problem, any issue, and let your solutions be such that it will be broad enough to accommodate contingencies. Maka na no mberede ka eji amadike. That's right. Ozo dike akwado na agha akara aka adeli ngwọrọ maka na ife Nigeria ga-abụ na 2019 is in our hands. We can shape it. We can and
whatever we prepare for today.
That's right. No nkwaba na ọkọchị ka na ya n'udu mmiri maka na ife ị na-ekwu bụ looking ahead. Ebe okwu afụ ka esi kwudebie kịta ebe ka eji eje. First of all, the National Assembly, you see the trouble they are in. Just trying to sit.
They are disorganized and confused,
and they have not
self-protect.
They have not done what they are supposed to do. We've looked at their manifestos, so they should have been doing a whole lot to live up to their manifestos. For example, APC should have had reforms for land use, reforms for political change, and devolution of power. All those things they talked about,
never happened.
Jobs and all that, they should have had that conversation.
PDP on the other hand,
on security, PDP on the other hand had the reform. If you're in opposition, at least you had some air. Ekweremadu is PDP deputy senate leader, right?
Yes.
Why is it that nothing came to the floor championing
on the federalism that they were touting in their manifesto?
That's
nothing.
Right.
So where did all that go?
Oluzie ka achụbala unu ọsọ kpochido unu ụzọ unu bebe akwa ka anyị gbapụta.
O nwere onye Igbo be anyị o so ndị APC mee campaign mee oluzie mgbe e nyebara ọkwa enyere ya ọpụtasị na maka na-ewe onye Igbo ekwe ka m kwudewe okwu ebe a ọ sị na ọkwa na-achọghị gbalụ bịa mana mgbe a na-azọ ife a na-asị na APC mee nke a mgbe ahụ ọ wụrụ onye Igbo mgbe ha na-eri na-akpọrị na-adagharị na-eme kampen na-enyeji onwe ha afọ emere ya asọ onye Igbo mgbe ekereziela oke o lutere ya ọ wụrụ onye Igbo ndị be anyị ekunye zọwa na maka na onye Igbo ọ wụrụ onye Igbo bụfọ ife njekwa ife abụrụ na ọ dọrọ mma ịzọ ndị Igbo even ndị Igbo anyị chere nwanne gị mefiela ọ dị oke ịbata ime ụlọ ịdụọ ya ọdụ ịnọ n'ilo ịzọta ya mana ife njekwa ife awụ ịchọ iwe onye Igbo tata gwa anyị your manifesto gwa anyị ka ọ ga-esi dị ọ ga-abụ echi ikwukwekwa na ife eji eme ife ahụ maka na Igbo anyị enekwa anya si na ọ gwakọrọ ya agwa n'ọkwụ nwanne anyị ọ bụrụ mgbe ọ gbado gị n'onu anyị awụrụ nwanne gị ife ji gị rapụ gị ichefu anyị.
That's right. So na ọ bụkwa zebuda ya ọsị ka Chineke mezie okwu a.
Amen. Well, tupu anyị apụọ nwere one more thing that I saw that was a string in all the things I go. The Constitution as the supreme document. Mana mgbe ngụlụ nke ndị APC, I was wrongly interpreting it na maybe na ha nwere a specific constitution in mind. Ngụọ nke ndị Abga, I interpreted it the same way, but can change my interpretation, having read the two to say the same thing, which is now rule of law. Now, a governing principle that is entrenched and concretized in a constitution that should be the governing, that should have the thing that takes care of the country and nation. The other thing running rampant, they all realize that the government requires reform. And when the national reform will just share natural resources equitably. When this is a reform, we make it sure that the 3 tiers of government will a better participation and the things are clearly lined up. When the national reform will through federalism, in Kebankobana, if I did my I mean, what you see all about.
Yes.
I can't equal.
That's right. What I came Libya.
Well, although Nanangucha, I agafe no gain your line, Manamam, Olata would take away. So, in the by, I got
I am Mazi KK Odeluga.
Mazi Ejikeme Obasi.
Now, Mazi, okay, Okachuku.
This is Straight Talk Radio, the world as we see.
Coming to you from WGHC 98.3 FM. Your voice, your music, your station.
Listen to us this and every Saturday at 4 to 5 p.m. U.S. Central, and this and every Tuesday at